Hello and welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast. My name is Selomon. What a pleasure to be here with you. In this episode, I interview an actress named Angie Sanchez, and we're going to be talking about how seeing the positive in some of, the bad situations in life that might happen, how that can improve your life, can give you empowerment, can allow you to create some positive habits to get rid of those those bad habits on a very deep level, and everything in between. So it's a really wonderful episode. Angie was a very wonderful, sweet person. So I think you'll really enjoy this episode, and just really, really honored to be able to do this with you guys. So thank you for listening and enjoy.
For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning, and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of that, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Awakening humanity to spirituality and higher consciousness.
And welcome to the show, Angie.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, it's a pleasure to have you on, and you have a great YouTube channel, so it's always nice to have somebody on here with positive things to say like you do.
Thank you. It's my ambition to really bring light out of a lot of situations that we're faced with, and circumstances that we have in our experience here on Earth, because I don't believe in good or bad. I believe in making ourselves better, and with that comes a lot of reflection and a lot of taking responsibility and creating different habits on how to make ourselves better people.
Definitely. So, for our audience, could you give kind of your background, what you're doing now, and things like that?
Yeah, so I am an actress. I'm based out of LA, born and raised here actually, in the South Bay, which is like near the beach area. And I've always wanted to go into, the entertainment industry to help people and to have a massive effect on people. And just recently I realized, actually this last year, I realized that you don't need that in today's day and age. You don't need to have that I'm an actress or I'm a singer or I'm anything to really have that impact on people. So I started my YouTube channel to really get my messages out there. And that's been a great experience so far. But what got me going in that direction was, I have my first 3 YouTube channels. I break down who I am and the experiences I've been through and where I'm coming from as far as positive content, because I see a lot of people that are very much like positive thinking, positive this, positive that, but they don't give you the contrast of where that's coming from or the bigger picture. It's always like, oh, you're feeling down, do this. I come more from the experience of you're going through all of these situations to turn you the other way, to look in the other direction, especially, is it all right if I talk about the election because this just happened?
Yeah, definitely. For anybody listening, while we're recording this, I think it's like the day after the election. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Trump has won. He's a president-elect, and I feel like we've penetrated the matrix. Like, I feel like we have progressed as a consciousness, you know, like we people that are in this world are aware of this awakening happening and are aware that we're living in a time that's very, it's once in the lifetime in many universes is what we believe and what we know. And this just goes to show you, like, holy cow. I mean, if people are not awakened now, it's like, yo, like, this is like a slap in the face, you know? Either way, whether you're pro-Hillary or pro-Trump, it's just, I don't know, it's just like something really precious about this. That's we'll see what happens, but I just think some good stuff is coming from this. And I think it's really calling a lot of us to work in our light and to come forward in our gifts that we have either suppressed or have not really discovered, you know?
Yeah, I feel like having Trump in office, I feel he is kind of like every other, corrupt politician, except for that he's very blatant about it. He's just out there in the open about it, and I think this will bring a lot of attention to that, to like the collective consciousness, just because they're like, oh my gosh, look at the politics in America today.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not hidden behind a figure that supposedly speaks to all women or all this or all that. It's not hidden behind like a hidden agenda behind celebrity or behind, it's like in your face. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, what are you going to do about it?
Right. So
I don't know. I'm loving it. We're going to live in our light. We're going to come together. All my experience, if anyone watches my first videos that I've put out, I do talk about my background. Like, I grew up just not having any sort of religion influence, not much at least. I did lose my dad when I was 8 years old to a heroin overdose. And having him crossed over, I had a very strong relationship with him. And I'm going to say that he guided me through my teenage years very profoundly. When I was going through my teens, I was discerning on becoming a nun, and I was going to surrender it all and go into the convent and pursue, life of charity.
Wow.
And I had an epiphany at the age I think it was 18, when I was going to apply for colleges. I had an incident where I was like, well, this isn't really what I believe in, what speaks truth to me. So shortly after, I practiced Buddhism for about 3 years. And all of this, mind you, is because I've always felt such a strong connection with spirituality. I never really had someone to share it with, that really understood where I was coming from, from having experiences with, I want to say, the spirit world when I was a teenager, having extremely terrible nightmares, and going to my mom and being like, Mom, can we move from this house, please? Because I just can't sleep. And she wouldn't believe me, or she would say, oh, just pray and you'll be fine. And at some points it would help, but at others, it was terrifying as a kid just to grow up in that type of, environment.
Right.
It connected to the spiritual world. So when I was about 20, I dove into a religion called Santeria. And are you familiar with that religion?
No, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Okay, so it's an Afro-Cuban religion. It's very primitive. It's African mixed with Catholicism. So it's like it's a lot of hierarchy, a lot of rituals, a lot of looking back now, it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark stuff. Uh-huh. I wasn't aware of it at the time. It appealed to me because, they communicated with the other side. Mm-hmm. I saw like people being possessed. I saw a lot of things that I was like, oh, okay, well, this validates all the other experiences I had as a teenager, like this confirms why all those things were happening. at the same time, they use that as a tool to, I want to say, like, instill fear in people, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it was very controlled, very manipulated. And it wasn't till I saw it getting really dark, because the thing is, it's all nice and, you know, it's all about power and becoming successful. And if you want to have a certain success, you do this, you get that. And that's how it works. And at the time, I thought, you know, I kind of fell into it without really knowing what I was getting into. When I got into it, I was like, holy shit, what did I do? And at that point, you're like, well, I can't turn back because I'm into this really deep, you know? So I want to say 7 years later, about 27 years old, I prayed. I don't know what happened, but I just had this moment where I was like, wait a minute, like, none of this makes any sense. And, you know, a lot of it, I asked to see for myself. I prayed and I said, you know, my angels, my guardian, Dad, help me, because this doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel right. And whatever it is, I want to see it for myself, because a lot of times we go to our friends and we're like, well, what do you think of this? Or we go to our parents, well, what do you think of that? Or friends, you know, whatever it is. And sometimes it's easy to believe people, and they might not be giving you the best advice, or it's easy to believe people, but then you'll go back to the same pattern because it was that easy to make that next move. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
definitely.
So
sure. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say I've experienced something like that for sure.
yeah. So I saw a lot of things. I mean, from like life and death stuff to just people, you know, backstabbing each other behind closed doors, and me just being at the right place, hearing one side of the story, then being at the other place and hearing another side of the story, and then just really putting two together and realizing, like, hey, everyone's playing each other here just to get to that next level in the religion, or to get on the good side of this priest who has maybe a higher ranking. You know, it was really fascinating to see. And at one point, I realized that none of it made sense, and none of it had power over me. And I confronted these people face to face, and I said, you guys do what you do, but this is not what I believe in, and this is not what I signed up for. And that took a lot of guts. Believe me, I was threatened someone said, you know, I won't rest till you're buried in your grave.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what? Yeah, no, it's like pretty dark stuff. And the whole time I was just like praying, and that's what I mean by from bad comes good, because then I started diving into like creating fields of light around me without even knowing that's a thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like asking my guardian angels to protect me, to like be around me, to pave a path that I am meant to live on, that I you know, show me why I was meant to experience all of these things. And so that led to, like, I don't know, just I want to say 3 years of rebuilding self-esteem. One, who I am as a person. You know, for 7 years I stood for all of these other things that just no longer were validated anymore. So that's where I come from, the positivity of having a certain outlook to life, because although we come from certain situations or circumstances or experiencing certain things, or even people that we attract in our lives, good can always come of those things. You know, if you have a significant other that's just always grumpy and always testing your limits, and hey, maybe that person's pushing you for you to really realize what it is that you stand for.
Right.
And when you have that clarity, then you're able to say, okay, thank you for that lesson, and it's time to move on. Or, hey, let's work it out. Whatever that clarity gave you, you know?
Mm-hmm, definitely. You know, I think a lot of us have experienced moments where especially with an awakening and stuff like that, there's some things that have to happen to kind of shake you out of that funk, or to make you open up your eyes and see the truth and see, beyond the illusion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with all of that, it took me a while to dive into spiritual world again, even though I was very, very much immersed in prayer and immersed in creating energy fields and, practicing not being who I was in the religion to being who I really was all my life. It's just in my everyday encounters and really reassociating my relationships, because my point of view was very, it was cloudy, from things that people have said. It was to the point where it's like, oh, well, that person isn't good for you because they're not really your friends, their intentions are bad. And even to that minimal effect, it's like, well, if that person isn't good for you, then it is in your life experience to figure that out yourself, not for someone to tell you, or if someone does tell you, okay, thank you, but not completely cut off that experience, because this is life, and like, we're here to experience those two polar existence,
Definitely. And some people could say something that even a little bit off of what actually happened could kind of shift that in the wrong direction. Is this something
Absolutely.
that you kind of experience more or less in Hollywood? Just what you were talking about?
Can you say that again? Like, what exactly do you mean?
In Hollywood, is there? I don't know, because would you consider yourself, you're in LA, right? I don't really know how the whole terminology works with like the Hollywood thing. Would you consider yourself to be like, is Hollywood an industry, or is it just like a city?
No, it's an industry for sure. I would say there are a lot of some similarities. I mean, if you talk to people that have been deeply into Hollywood, they'll tell you, hey, that's just another cult,
Right.
I feel like there's still that same hierarchy. There's still that same, being a woman, some guys are like, I'll do you a favor if you do me a favor. And I'm sure a lot of women do, and even men, I'm sure, go down that road. I find it very, very rare that you find that actor or actress that has been really true to who they are throughout their whole career.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's just my 2 cents there.
No, I think I've read many different perspectives from celebrities who talk about stuff like that, and one example is just recently Mila Kunis released a thing on Ashton Kutcher's website about how a producer wanted her to pose semi-nude, and she said no, and he was like, oh, you'll never work in this town again. But for her, I think it's wonderful that she actually like stood up and said no, and that's like, I think that's something that like you're saying is rare, but once somebody as big as Mila Kunis does it, it's like, I don't know, it shifts the whole perspective on the industry, I think.
Absolutely. And she started when she was 14, I believe, so I'm sure her parents were there. I don't know the details of her career, but a lot of times when you have parents around and guarding you, I don't think that a lot of these guys will get away with what they try to get away with. Like, I was told not too long ago, hey, let's date, let's be together or whatever. And I'm like, no way, I'm not even interested, nothing, right? And it's like this person who was an executive at a very high agency, he said, well, how do you think all these women got to where they are? And that in itself was a trigger in my experience, in my religious, the 7 years that I've been in, because it was the same vocabulary. Like, well, how do you think this happened without you having to do this? Or, and thank God, because that was just like a very small life lesson. Now, had it been to the degree of like a long time career, I think it would have a different effect. Well, I don't know. I guess I can't really say that, but it's a different dynamic there. Yeah.
For sure. So do you think something like what happened with Mila is like maybe it's like a trend that will continue to progress in that industry and in all industries, like a more equal rights?
I mean, like I said earlier, it's like, what do we do now after Trump is elected? We work in our light, we work in our power. You align with your consciousness, you align with your spirit, with your body, and you honor that. And I think once people start doing that, it'll really create a bigger shift than we've ever seen. My goal in the industry now, before it was like, book a sitcom, be on, big feature film. And now it's like, no, I want to work with people that are creating conscious content, that are creating like, I recently subscribed to that. I don't know if you've seen this. It's Gaia.com.
Yeah, yep.
Dude, I recently subscribed to that, and like all the content on there, I'm just all about.
Yeah, definitely. That's a wonderful, conscious creators over there in Gaia.
Yeah, I'm all about that. Like, hey, I want to become an actress for that reason. Not to just have 1 million followers on Instagram or whatever it is.
For sure. But
that's where you make the difference. That's where you start from the very beginning and you create a name. That's where you become a legacy, where you become a Dr. Wayne Dyer or a Maya Angelou or, Gandhi or whoever you look up to.
For sure. I've really enjoyed seeing some actors kind of come out and talk about the awakening, such as Russell Brand and Jim Carrey. Like, some of the things that they're talking about are really profound, and I think especially with celebrities like them, they have such a big influence on the world and people living in it. So when I see somebody like them come out and talk about this stuff, it's really profound. And I think it does kind of give hope to this world that we can steer it in the right direction towards sustainability and equality.
Yeah, I agree. That's when it becomes on that mass scale. And now with social media, I call it being social content or conscious content. These Instagram pages that have a bunch of inspirational quotes. There are times where I was in religion and I was like looking through some of this and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes more sense than what that other person was saying. And it just planted some seeds. And I think that's also where we can influence and make a difference is sharing conscious content on whatever platform you like to share yourself with,
Definitely. And as far as planting seeds go, I'll say, like, as far as we are, sometimes entertainers, we are conscious creators, and so we are kind of planting seeds in the people who are listening to us right now. But after we plant that seed, it's up to the person who received it to water it and to see it grow, instead of kind of forgetting about it, and then nothing really happens with that seed. So if you if you can listen to us, but if you want to change your life for the better and stuff like that, I think it's something that you have to do every day.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes too, whatever is said won't resonate, but then you'll come back to it a month later, and then you'll get it.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of creating content, like something like this. People can always go back and listen to it, or we record it now and someone listens to it 3 months from now. But it's still there, kind of building its value.
Definitely. So with that, I kind of want to talk about some. You did have a video on your YouTube channel where you talked about how you can get rid of some bad habits that you have on a very deep level, and I think that goes along well with, say if we did plant a seed, kind of sometimes bad habits can distract us and allow us to kind of procrastinate. So what are some tips that you have about getting rid of those bad habits?
Yeah, so a couple things that I like to practice is, one, I like to do a 21 day to about 40 days of a meditation. And it's a meditation starting at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I'm seated at my meditation pillow at 5 a.m. Exactly. But my teeth are brushed, my hair is up, ready to go. I do that for about 20 minutes and it's a silent meditation. And then I read a book. It's called the Vedanta Treatise. It's one of my favorite books to read. I recommend any book that comes really to anyone's attention. And then after that, I like to journal. So I do this for about 21 days minimum. And what that does is that it brings you to a reset of your behavior in life, a reset in your patterns that you're living. What triggered this actually was a time that I was drinking. I think I was drinking every other day or something. It was like there was always a social event in the acting world. And I was going to it and I was kind of getting out of hand. And I just started realizing how shitty I felt about myself. And this message came in to just meditate at 5 a.m. And I knew it was 5 a.m. because it would be hard to wake up at that time. And once I did that for 21 days, man, I opened up to so much. I started learning about the Akashic records, which I had never known before. I started learning about past life regressions, like Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis, and about different galaxies. And that 21 days, actually I did it for 50 days, but it was initially 21 days, opened this gateway of knowledge. And I guess what really happened was I aligned with higher vibration. So that's one way to reset, to really just stop. What am I doing here? Let me just go back and go in. Another way that I like to reset is to eliminate meats for 10 days, and meats and dairy and sex. This can be hard, especially if you're in a relationship, but it's more about honoring your body. And that's cleansing your spirit and your soul, and then go back into that relationship or whatever type of pattern you're having. And it really slows you down because you go inward and you acknowledge your body and you honor your body. Yeah, so those are two ways. And that can be with all sorts of habits, whether it's eating, whether it's sex, whether it's, different thoughts that you're having, different procrastination. It holds you accountable, because a lot of times what people tend to do is play the blame game. And by doing those two things, we take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah. That is really important, taking responsibility. And I noticed that, there was a point in time where I didn't really have that much discipline with my sort of daily routine. And so I started thinking, okay, well, I'm just gonna go for a run each day and come back and do 10 up downs. And I did that for I think 4 weeks straight. And then after that, my entire life started improving in other aspects of my life, not just my health from running. I was inspired because I was doing something healthy and something positive that kind of carried on into my some of my other worlds, like the broadcasting world. I started getting more focused with branding everything, stuff like that, etc. So I think that, if you do something like a 21-day meditation, it will not only improve like that, it'll I think for me at least, it inspired to kind of like expand that, to every area of my life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it could be anything like running, or I don't know what other people like to do. I'd love to hear what other people like to do. But yeah, it resets it, and it almost like it opens this portal of how things are naturally supposed to go when you're not resisting,
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it.
Definitely. When you were talking earlier, you mentioned astral projection. Since you are an actress and you are into that kind of world, have you watched the movie Doctor Strange?
I haven't. Is that something I have to see? Doctor Strange? I'm going to make note of that.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about it, but in the movie, this doctor, he goes through a really hard time, and he kind of needs to find his strength, and so he goes to a monastery and learns about astral projection, about the spirit world and the chakras and stuff like that. And this is actually like a Marvel movie, like a big Marvel movie that Doctor Strange.
This just came out, right?
Yeah, yep. This one just came out a few days ago.
I have to see that. I actually, I saw that, but it's like the trailer is very, it's Marvel, so it's very like, wait, what's really going on here? I have to check that out. I love those movies.
Definitely. I think it's really amazing that, something like this is it's a big movie. So the fact that they're kind of, throwing that information out there, like I tell my family all about astral projection all the time, and like they don't really hear it. They think it's something crazy and weird. So when they go to the movies, because everybody loves movies, so when you go to the movies, like, or watch a movie and you hear about that stuff and you see it, kind of, how strange it sounds to say that it kind of legitimizes the fact that
it validates
it's real.
it.
It validates it. But
if they're able to create it, that means it already exists. Yeah, I mean, I believe, a lot of the stuff that we're doing with science is we're already able to do that. We just have to go in and be able to do that, to astral project, on the go in a meditation. Yeah, totally. I mean, monks do this, it's not, it's only in America that it's been suppressed. It's all this information has been suppressed.
Definitely. That's like one of our missions, though, is to kind of bring this information out to the world. And a lot of people can see it as an awakening. Like that's why we use the word awakening, because most of us have gone through a spiritual awakening and have had that spiritual experience and wanna share it with the world. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're interviewing you.
Thank you. Yeah, I love what you guys are doing. There's a guy in a podcast, a show that you guys did. He was talking about the Matrix.
Might have been Brent.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I mean, his information was so spot on. I could not stop smiling.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Love it.
Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. Did you have any last words or any shameless plugs you would like to send out?
Shameless plugs. Last words. I think the biggest message I have is everything you need to know is within you. And we don't need to go to a guru or a priest or a whoever to find the truth. The truths are already within you. And so we have to just trust that and trust our intuition and trust, when you don't know the answers, go within and free journal or just let some time pass. That's my biggest message, is you don't need to depend on other people to heal yourself. But if it helps, by all means, yes. But you don't need it. It's not a dependency. It's a tool. Shameless plugs. I am _Angie M. Sanchez on both Instagram and Twitter. And my YouTube channel, I don't know if I have a name yet. I guess I can send it to you guys.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description, so anybody who's listening to this now, you can find out the YouTube channel in the description. But is it Angie Sanchez?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Great. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Oh, you know what? I have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/with Angie Sanchez, and I also have a YouTube link on there. So, yeah. Those are my shameless. What is it? Shameless plugs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Shameless plugs. All right. Well, thank you once again for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for shining on with us.